Here we go. Tommy, how are you, my friend?
Good, my man. How you going?
Yeah, very well, very well. It's been a busy morning, trying to do the family life thing. But hey, you're in a similar situation as well. You do family life as well.
Yeah, man. I had kids drop off this morning. It was book
Okay.
week, so my
Yes.
son was a Ninja Turtle. My two girls were ballerinas. So yeah, and then you try and get into the office on time, and good luck if you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, that's right. Later on today, I'll be called into my daughter's kindy to do like to read a book to her class, and she dressed up for it. I'm like, man,
So
I
good,
better look the part. I better match that energy. Otherwise, I'll be letting my
bro.
daughter down, which I don't
You're
want
the
to do.
you're the dad, bro.
Yeah,
You're the dad of doom. I've heard,
yeah,
man. Three
yeah.
daughters.
Three daughters. Hey, come on now.
You
Someone
got it.
help me, please.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of family, like how has obviously we're going to talk a bit about the chaplaincy work that you do, but how has your family coped with I guess your line of work of chaplaincy in rugby league, but also supporting you at your church role?
Yeah, our family is huge for me. My father's Indian and my mum's Aussie, and so I think I was
Oh
just
wow.
brought up in a culture where family was all you had.
Yeah.
Not much money, but you had
Yeah.
good food on the table and
Yeah.
lots of it. And I
Yeah.
think my wife and I, we've got three kids that are all 6 and under, and so we've really put a whole lot of emphasis on our unit. That
Right.
if we do something on a Saturday, we all do it.
Right.
And so if game day is on a Saturday, then we go to the game. Church is on a Sunday. Obviously, we all go to church. My son plays a little bit of rugby on a Saturday morning, so the whole family goes. So we try and keep this unit together. Friday nights are movie nights, but we also understand like we're in the trenches. Like
Yeah.
our kids are young. They're very dependent, and we can almost see the light at the end of the tunnel. Our youngest is 3, and she's no longer needing nappies. So that's a box that's ticked.
Yeah.
They can all brush their teeth. So I mean, we work hard to keep the unit together. We value all of them.
Yeah.
We celebrate the wins, which is a big one for us. That if one of the kids comes home from school with an award, we go out for dinner or we go out for
So good.
milkshakes or something like that. So we
Mm.
celebrate the wins, and then we turn up for each other in the hard stuff as well.
Yeah, I want to press into a little bit about dad. Obviously, having that multicultural aspect in your family. How have you seen that formed and shaped your way of leading people?
Yeah, well, I think the Indian culture that I come from, it's always been an easy race to pick on. They
Yeah,
don't look physically strong.
yeah,
They work really hard, and I think that's what I saw. I saw my
yeah.
father would just work and work and work, and he did a great job providing. Like when he moved from India, he had over here to Australia, he had nothing, and he put
Wow.
me and my sister through private school, and we always went on a holiday once a year, and I think like Indians can get a bad name, or not a bad name, but you can look at them and go, oh man, taxi drivers, Uber drivers, 7-Eleven workers. And the
Yeah.
reason being is that they want and they desire jobs that don't switch off, because
Wow.
their purpose is to
Wow.
provide. When you think about it, they choose the jobs that nobody wants because they have to provide for not just their own family, but their extended family. So when I grew up, in a very loving home. My parents are still together. They still live in the same house
Wow.
in Southport, 4215, backs onto Keebra Park State
Yeah.
High School.
Yeah.
Like, but they were kind of just we were a simple family,
Hmm.
but we were very rich in all the values that a family should have.
Yeah. Do you see the similarities of, I guess, that adopting that work ethic like dad did into what you do now, like in both chaplaincy and in church pastoring?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's from what I've seen, like it's my default now.
Okay.
So I grew up, and uh, that was my benchmark, I suppose. Like that's what I
Yeah.
looked for in a father who was a provider and protector. And so the roles that I do have and the jobs, like I was a high school teacher, I was a high
Yes.
school chaplain for 11 years combined. and I would be at the office 7 a.m. and leave at 5, even though school was only going 9 till 3. I just wanted to put in for my students, and I see that has carried over to what I'm doing now with the club and also with church. Is that I mean, church is such a blessed opportunity, you know, to be here. But I don't see the hours. I don't count the hours. It's just I feel as though I'm doing God's work, and I always just want to be on the clock stewarding what he's given me.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about routine. Like, obviously, from what I'm just hearing and gauging, it's like there's a lot that can be accomplished, what you're saying, and there's a work ethic behind it, which is amazing. But how does routine, what does routine mean to you, and how does that serve you in order to get the most out of life, whether it be family, whether it be work?
Yeah, I would love to. I heard somebody once say, like, you get married to see how selfish you are, and then you have kids to find out how selfless you are.
Wow.
And I think if I could choose my routine, for me, it would be selfish. It would be a routine where I get up at the same time every day, and I go to the gym, or I go get my own time, and then do what I need to do, and then get home. And then, unfortunately, I was guilty of it in the past, and my wife pulled me up, is that I'd give her the scraps, you know, for lack of a better word. She'd get the leftovers of me, because I'd given myself to the things that I wanted to do and to other people. And when I came home to her and I came home to the kids, I wasn't the father or the husband that she wanted. So we processed it and we worked through it. And so routine is huge for me now. Like, if you ask me on any day, what time of the day, what am I doing? I could just about nail it from week to week and give you, you know, what I'm doing. And I'm not in the gym every day, but there are certain days that I'm in the gym. There's certain mornings I wake up earlier than the family, so I can read a book, or I can read the Word. And then there's one morning a week, which was this morning, Thursday, where I take one of my kids out, and that's just daddy daughter time or daddy son time. And me and my son climbed Burley Hill this morning before sunrise. Watched the sunrise at the top. I had a coffee. He had a hot chocolate down the bottom. But it's just, I think the routine that I'm trying to establish with family now is something that I can lean on and rely on later on in life, and know that I've put the time in now, that it's not awkward for me to want to spend time with my kids, or it's not awkward for me to have time for myself. So routine's huge, but I'd say rhythm is something that I've worked harder on.
Right. Okay.
So it's not the set time of, okay, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. every day, but the rhythm says that 3 days a week I'm going to go to the gym. You know, rhythm says that I'm going to read, you know, a chapter of a book every second day. So yeah, I'm not strict on discipline and routine, but I try and fit it into the rhythm of my life.
Yeah. Speaking of rhythms of life, 11 years of chaplaincy, that was a certain rhythm in terms, and even prior to that, you were a high school teacher. So those two rhythms, there's still an education that's still serving people. At what point did you feel that the rhythm of teaching and then the rhythm of chaplaincy was sort of shaping you for another sort of pace or another sort of season or ebb or flow of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think only God can do this, but he opens doors to your heart and then closes doors to your heart.
Okay.
And I felt like teaching, I was in this sweet spot of life where, you know, I was enjoying my job. I was a high school phys ed teacher. If you went to high school and you know phys ed, you're kicking footies, you're doing high jump, you're running races, you're playing sport. It was like the dream, man. I know you trained, so you would have topped your HPE class in high school.
Yes.
But for some reason, I put my head down on the pillow at night, and I just wasn't satisfied. There was something more. There was something there was like an itch that I needed to, you know, kind of check out or scratch. And it was, I knew it was outside high school education, but I just didn't know what it was. Yeah. And so it opened up a massive dialogue between myself and God, and also my wife and me, and trying to figure out. I think I was 32, and we'd had 2 kids, one on the way. We just bought a house, and God was telling me to leave my job. Essentially, I felt like the door to that part of my heart was closing, and I didn't know what was next. And it just so happened that the Titans was next. and then this role at Glow Church where I'm a pastor at the moment, that was the next step as well.
Yeah, tell me more about that feeling of don't know what's next. Because I know a lot of our listeners, and even for myself, like, you know, you and I had a bit of a laugh when we caught up, but we're both in a similar season, or our season sort of crossing over about what's next. Like, tell us about that waiting period. What's it like to wait on God or wait for a direction or wait for an opening? Like, what were some of the things that you were thinking, and what were some of the strategies for you to go, okay, it's going to be all right in the end. I just have to stick to this, even though I don't know what's coming next.
Yeah. No, good question. I think that's a question everybody wants to know. Hey, I think if we go back to the waiting period, you've got to ask yourself the question: how did you get into the waiting room? If you forced yourself into the waiting room, then maybe you are going to be waiting a lot longer than what you wanted, or there's no peace in that room. And the room feels very lonely. But I think I ended up in the waiting room because I was obedient to where I felt like God was asking me to go. And I relied big time on Genesis. You know, in Genesis when Abraham, you know, spoken to by God, and he says, "Go and I'll show you." And so I felt like for me, all I needed to do was go first. And for me, it was go away from my career, and then God was going to show what was next. But what I noticed in the waiting room was, because I was obedient, like I felt peace, and I felt like I was in the waiting room with my wife, Nancy, every day. Like I said to her, look, I'll get a job. I can get a job doing anything. I started business at 13, mowing lawns. And I could go mow lawns. Like I can clean pools. I can do that kind of line of work. And she was like, no, let's just wait this thing out together. Because if God hadn't told you to go, then he's not going to show you. But because he has told you to go and we've gone, now we wait. And now we wait in peace, knowing that we've been obedient. We wait together because like our marriage is the most important thing in this world. And ultimately, I'm just thankful to God that I didn't have to wait long.
That's right.
But I felt like I was in the room because he had asked me to come and wait in the room.
Yeah. Man, that's a powerful concept of terms of forcing yourself to be in that room, because we're trying to force God's hand at somewhere in our psyche to think, okay, I've done it. Now, come on already. Like, bless me now, or give me the opportunity. I know I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
But I guess I want to ask you the question of, when you are waiting in that space with yourself and your wife, are you going in with anticipation of, I could be anywhere, or I could be doing something totally out of my comfort zone in terms of the skills? Or do you go in anticipation going, I'm going to be used by God, or however he chooses, with what I have? Or is it like a brand new season? Like, how do you prepare yourself for that?
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I've always been very safe, very safe. Like if you look at our bank account, there's margin. Like we're talking about routines and rhythms before. I'm this guy who has one job for 10 years.
Yeah.
And my wife's the exact opposite, where she'll have 10 jobs in 1 year. And I joke around that, you know, she's a gypsy. Yeah. And so I felt like when we were waiting, my stability and my trust in God knew that something was going to line up. I just had faith. I just felt like, all right, well, I've never actually put myself out there so far before for God to shift my life. But now that I'm here, he's the only one that can actually bring me what's next. Yeah. And my wife, you know, like I feel so blessed that I have her. You know, we're riding life together, but she's the type of girl that would pump my tires up. You know, like if I do anything good, and just she lives by, you know, faith daily, and she's a hard worker. And I think because there was this, obviously we've got our marriage and we've got our kids, but because we're safe and because we're hard workers, like we knew it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, too many young people force themselves into the waiting room just because they're unhappy with where they're at.
Oof, say that again, Tommy. Say that again. Come on now.
You know, like, and I've been probably guilty of it to a lesser extent, you know, in years gone by where I was in a part-time job. I didn't like it, so I just quit and was looking for something else. And too often I think we're guilty of quitting the job and then saying, well, I feel as though God wants me for something new. And yet God was saying, no, I just stay there, pay off your debt. Like, just stay there, get some consistency to your life. Like, just stay there and build up, you know, a bit of your own reputation, so that when there's another job in the future, someone can look on your resume and say, hey, you were faithful with that company for 5 years. And it wasn't a good company, but to know that you stayed there for 5 years shows me a lot about your character.
Yeah.
So I think we force ourselves into change because we're not happy with stuff.
Yeah.
And life is, you're built by the unhappiness of life into the character that I think God's called you to be.
Yeah.
Whether you can stay in it, you stay resilient, stay true to your integrity.
Yeah.
I
want to keep on this narrative of, okay, Nancy and Tommy are waiting in this room. All of a sudden, there's an opportunity to be a chaplain in the Titans, and all of a sudden, there's this leadership position at a church. Like, were you expecting that to happen? Like, you left one job, but you end up getting two.
No. Well, I was born in West Sydney, and I've always followed football, rugby league, and I'd always dreamt. I'd even had like prophetic words spoken over me as a young guy that I was in a change room. I was with football players, but they couldn't tell me what I was doing.
Right.
Wasn't physio, wasn't a trainer, wasn't a coach, wasn't a nutritionist, definitely wasn't a player.
Yeah.
And when I look at my life now, like, everything has got me ready, I think, to now step into that role of a NRL chaplain. And a couple of years ago in 2018, when it all took place, I felt like God, even because of our journey and whatnot, he just put the cherry on the top of the cake for me. And that was the chaplaincy role at the Titans. He knows my heart's desires. He knows I grew up watching football. He knows that I'm passionate about that. I want to be part of something, but also I want to serve, and I want to love, and I want to encourage, and I want to pray, and I want to use my faith as best as I can to bring hope to this world. And so, I'll kid you not, Ray, like, the day that I told my school I was quitting, that afternoon I got a phone call from the Titans chaplain, who was there before me, and he said, "Hey, Tommy, I'm actually moving on." And Russ Harmon, like, I don't know if he's going to ever watch this. I'll for sure send him the link.
Yeah, please.
But he paved the way and for a chaplain at the club. So from day one, the Titans had just always had a chaplain.
Yep.
And he'd built these inroads into the whole organisation that weren't threatening, that weren't about his agenda. It was about how he could serve and how he could help the club. And when he said he was moving on to Surf Life Saving Australia in a bit of a national role, he said, "I want to ask you first if you would be open to it, and if you had the time for it." And I said to him on the phone, I was like, "Hey, Russ, I've just quit my job. I got all the time. I got all the time in the world." He's like, "Well, I know your heart, and chaplaincy takes a big heart because it's unpaid and it's voluntary." And I said, "Yeah, but I don't need it. You know, like, I just want to be able to make a small impact and make a bit of a difference if I can."
Yeah.
So that landed in my lap. You know, it's like I was in the waiting room for maybe 3 hours, you know, and it landed in my lap. And I'd always say to God, if we go out, like, and you show me whatever you show me, I'm saying yes to. Like, I'm gonna be a desperate man.
Yeah.
And then it was over the course of the next couple of months, and to be honest, the church that we're a part of, Glow Church on the Gold Coast, was fairly new, and my wife had grown up as a pastor's kid. And so the last thing that she ever wanted to do was to work in church.
Yeah.
But I think when the call of God's on your life, it's irrefutable, you know, like, you can't take it back. And there was the scratch or the itch or the desire or this, you know, that satisfaction of the purpose of every day that I was part of is like anytime I knew I was doing something to help other people, I was feeling like, okay, I'm using my gifts here that God's given me. And so we had quite a few back and forth conversations between myself, Nancy, our senior pastor at the time, Pastor Joel Cave and Ellen Cave. And they've been fantastic the whole time in this role. They've just really taken us under their wing and grown us and helped develop us and show us that working at church is not working at church. It's so serving. Good. You know, it's loving people. It's saying yes to God. It's trying to get your heart married up to his heart for his people and seeing what you can do to play a part.
Yeah. What brings you the most joy in terms of seeing your, like, for example, you're saying this mentor of yours, Pastor John, was showing you how to grow in your leadership role and help you grow to help others grow. How has that capacity of you brought you a lot of joy in seeing that grow, and also in your chaplaincy work in the Titans?
Oh, I think for sure. I think everybody's desire in their heart is to grow. Like if I ask you, you know, like what's the cost to be a better husband or be a better father, be a better friend, be a better trainer, be a better athlete, be a better saver, you know, be a better stewarder of, you know, where you're living or buying a house or whatnot. Like we'd all say, what's the cost? Like I'll pay it. I want to be the better version of myself. I think deep down we might not verbalize that, but I think there is this desire in all of us to grow.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what brings me the most joy is when I see that somebody's eyes kind of light up that there is more for them. Like if I'm sitting with a husband and we're talking about how to be a better husband, you know, if I'm sitting with a father and we're talking about how to spend quality time with your kids, like I got rocked a few years ago. I was watching this TV commercial. It's like one of the banks, and they interviewed like all the parents in a room. Like, if you could choose 4 people for dinner, who would you choose? And they're like, oh, Nelson Mandela, Barack Obama, you know, like
whoever.
All these goats. And then they took all the parents out and they asked the kids to come into the room, and they said to the kids, okay, kids, out of everybody in the world, who do you want to sit down for dinner with every night or a night? And they said, oh, how many do I get to choose? And they're like, okay, you can choose 4. And they're like, most of them are like, I only need 2, just mum and dad. That's it, you know?
Wow.
And I can still remember that ad. Maybe it's like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that one vaguely. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's changed how we do our family dinners at home. That, you know, like we have certain nights of the week where we are at home, we are around the dinner table, and we give our kids like the best of us. Yeah. So when I get to sit with a dad and even just share with him some things that maybe he could put into his family dynamic in order to see him championed, like in order to see his kids love him more, be proud of him. Like there's nothing that gets me more like when I'm walking my kids into school and they want to hold my hand, you know, as opposed to me kind of, you know,
trying to reach it. Love me, please, love me.
I know. So, you know, like I think there's something inside of me that I feel as though like the joy just comes about when I know that I can just play a small part to help somebody be a better version of themselves. And whether it's in the family setting, whether it's them as a student or as a child or, you know, in their career. So, you know, if we link it to the football boys, like the Titans, you know, every single player is dear to me. You know, I think about them, I pray over some of them, pray over all of them. Like most of them don't know that, but you know, the boys that ask for prayer, I know that that's my opportunity to kind of just partner with their faith and just say, hey, you know, like you don't have to. It's a elite industry, but you don't have to do it alone. And so if I can champion him and help, you know, like grow his faith or grow his self-esteem or grow his confidence, or even just grow his ability to be vulnerable, then, you know, I'm playing a small part.
Yeah. What is something that you wish people knew about your chaplaincy role in the Titans? Obviously, everyone's like, what's this person like? What's that person like? But that's just talking about personalities. I guess I want to ask and lean into that question. yeah, what is something you wish that people knew what it's like to be a chaplain?
Yeah. I think it's a role like every chaplain, that watches this podcast. And before we get there, bro, Ray, I just really want to honor you. Like I'm going to send my kids to Woodbridge State High. So
Let's
you
go.
can chaplain them.
Yeah.
But I really do honor you, bro, because you've started something here in this space and in this world that I think the chaplaincy role is one of the loneliest roles in any organization. And it sounds ruthless and rude, but you don't have a fit. Like you look around the room, you look around, like even in high school, you look at the teachers, you look at the students, you look at the welfare team, you can look at, the admin team, you can look at the P&C, and you're kind of trying to suss out, well, where's my fit? And the role of the chaplain in any club, sporting club, is the same. Is like there's something about, like, I don't have a fit. Like, I don't have a label. Like, somebody, I can say, yeah, I'm the chaplain, and the next question is like, what do you do? And sometimes I'm like, I actually do nothing. I'm a nobody. I just turn up, and if anybody needs anything, then I'm here to help. You know, and of course, like, there's times in crisis, and like if we do have, like if there's funerals that need to be taken, or in the high times as well, and people are getting married, and okay, of course, like, you can officiate and do what's needed, but I honor you, bro, because what you've done is you've bought a very lonely role and you've made it feel like a family. So that anybody that's on this podcast, or anybody that's watching this podcast, or anybody who wants to, may say, even remain anonymous, but they're still following you on Instagram or following what you do on Facebook and whatnot, there's this link, there's this connection that only we know how we feel.
Yes.
Like, what do you turn up in a role at a club that's unpaid? Well, I turn up because I love the boys, and I love the organisation. It's not just them; it's their families, it's the admin staff, it's the coaches. If I can play a small part to better them and bring this thing together in unity, then I'll play that small part. But you've done so well, man. Like, just watching, meeting up with you, but just watching, like, a few of your podcasts, and you've gone out there and been bold and been brave enough to start something. And I think, I'll give you tons of honor, bro.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And grateful. Thank you so much for that. I don't even know what to say. Thank you. Tell us about trust, in terms of how do you go into your workplace, such as Titans, whether it's volunteer or even in church, and build trust? Because obviously that's a big piece of trying to move forward with the organization or with your church. And what have been some of your strategies that you've experienced over the years that you could probably share with us?
Yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant question, because I think it's something that I think most, if not all, people pride themselves on, are being, that you can be trusted. That if your friends came to you and asked, hey, is Ray trustworthy? You'd want to know they're saying, yeah, of course he is. But trust is forged, I think, over time. And whether it's, and I remember saying that as when I was a high school teacher, is if I could get a student's trust, I could get the best work out of them. And so before I gave them the curriculum and before I gave them the education, I actually worked on gaining that trust. And it was built off mutual respect. I respected them and they respected me. And I think there's times, I remember I'd have year 11 and 12 girls turning up, to our period 1 class, and stunk a cigarette. They've been wagging the first 30 minutes of the lesson. And I probably can say this now because I haven't been a teacher for 4 years, but I didn't send them up to the office with a late slip, or I didn't go and send them to detention. But I just asked them, like, was it a tough morning? And it was the answer 10 out of 10 times. I was like, yeah, it was. I said,
wow.
I don't know what you're going through, but you're welcome here and you're safe in this classroom. And so it wasn't a me and the students versus the principal at all. But I think in order to gain trust, you've got to show people that you are there in their lowest times.
Wow.
You're not going to dob on them, rat them out. Like, especially with chaplaincy, at the club at the Titans, like, I know these boys, you know, and I know these men way before they're an athlete.
Yeah.
So when I see media headlines, or when I see or hear people talking about them, the way that it's very easy to make comments on a professional athlete,
Yeah.
I defend them, and I never once jump in on it, because I know their value and I know their worth, and as a man, not as an athlete.
Yeah.
And words affect everyone. So I think the trust that I've been able to build with the players or the coaches has been built over time.
Yes.
And it's been forged, which means that I think I've had to put it to the test, and in the lowest times and in the hardest times. And, you know, a couple of years there, 2018, 2019, I think we got wooden spoon and, you know, second last. And I remember being in the sheds of the year that we got the spoon, and nobody was in the sheds apart from the boys that were playing and the coaches.
Wow.
And the trainers. There were no plus ones, there were no family members, there was no business delegates, there was no sponsors, there was no fans, because who wants to be loud and proud in the sheds when you've just got the spoon? And we had a standing coach at the time, Hodjo, who's now doing great stuff in the NRL. But he said, "Look around the room, boys." We all looked around, and he said, "You'll never find this room more empty than what it is." And I think that's where trust is forged. It's in the loneliest rooms, when times and life's at its toughest for an individual, that if you turn up, you've just gained their trust for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you can easily break it, but I think when things are going good and times are high, we're making finals and we're close to winning premierships.
Yeah.
You want the trust from the players then, but it's been built, you know, in the seasons that haven't been easy, or in the times where they've been injured for, you know, extended periods of time and whatnot. So, and that translates to church as well, very much so. You know, church is filled with broken people. That's why we exist, and I'm the most broken out of all of them. And so it's not my job to fix them. It's my job to show them Jesus, who can fix them. But what I can do is be with them, shoulder to shoulder, in their hard times, and build trust there. I think if you turn up in the dark days, and in the high times, it's like you don't need to fight for your place. You've been trusted.
You fit. Yeah, you fit.
100.
My last question, Tommy. When your time is up at the Titans, and when your time is up at church, well, obviously still involved in church, but in leadership roles, or your time there has come to an end, what do you want to be remembered for? What do you want the players to remember you? How do you want your church community to remember you?
Yeah, man, I think the biggest compliment would ever be that, or would be that he was the man that was most like Jesus.
Wow.
I think if I'm able to read the word and look at how Jesus lived his life, and show the same grace and compassion, non-judgment, like forgiveness. If I'm able to kind of show those things to the people that are around me and know me, I'm able to be faithful, you know, to friendships and my wife and my kids. And I just hope that, you know, if I'm staunch on my integrity and my character and my righteousness, that people would say, man, like, never met Jesus, but that guy sure did, you know, get close to what I could imagine.
Yeah. Oh man, so good. Hey, thank you again, Tommy, for your time, and really appreciate. And again, it's so inspiring and encouraging to hear the line of work that you do. But I know that for our listeners, even for myself, I'm just thinking, man, I'm gonna go back, watch this again, take some notes, and think about this waiting room. Man, that's the big thing that sort of jumped out at me right now. So again, blessings to you, and this won't be the last time you and I will catch up. But appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ray, and thanks for the invite to be on here and in this space. And like I said before, man, you're doing something that I think this world needs. Yeah. And I love it that, you know, it's so easy to access, and with the media and whatnot, putting on whatever they want to put on. It's great having you put on this. So appreciate you, bro.
Cheers. Right. Thank you, bro.
See you, bro.